Okay, you're back on.
Okay, we're back in open session to discuss the budget for fiscal year 2019. We're going to be discussing Union County Highway Department budget. Kevin Kramer, you're up.
I'll do most of the talking. So the highway department has several funds that we'll go through. The general fund here, it's Fund 120. This is where most of their main expenses, road or MFT or anything like that comes out of. So here's the same tax levy as we had last year in there with the priors. I did go ahead and drop the county services down. The year before in 17 we had 108, but this year we're only coming in at 32. Kevin, that's like when you're repairing culverts or something for people, your county services?
Actually, that's monies that are coming in from municipalities as reimbursements that we spend. So we spend the money out of the county highway general, and the money comes back into county highway general. And
so it just depends on how many projects we
it
have.
depends on how many projects the municipalities have and how much money they have. So sometimes they'll save up their money 2 or 3 years, build up $100,000, and they want to do a street project of some kind. And then we'll have a big program that year, and then they won't have anything for a couple of years.
Was 17 high or was 18 low?
Yes, is the answer to your question. There were some big projects in 17, and then they turned around and they didn't have any money, so it was low.
So I'm trying to split the difference here.
Yeah, and that's probably, but when you get on down, it balances out, because if it's high up here, because they reimburse us within just a week or two, we get our money back.
Right.
Okay.
This is the equipment rentals charge. It's basically the other funds they're using the equipment, and so they're reimbursing. So you'll see this is all formulas. If you look up at the very top, it's pulling from all the other funds what the other funds are paying for equipment. This fund is getting for income. So it pulls on through.
And this is not 100% of the time. If we use a piece of equipment on an hour on a motor fuel tax project or something, if there's not enough motor fuel tax monies to keep our employees paid and keep our material suppliers paid, we do not charge our equipment rentals back to our county highway general fund. County highway general fund keeps our lights on, keeps our trucks rolling. So when we can't get that reimbursement back from those funds because of lack of distributions, the state's sitting on our money, maybe the vehicle miles driven per month is down that month. There's a lot of things that can affect the distributions into our motor fuel tax dollars that affects us being able to charge this equipment rental line. Now, then we will get fiscal Christmas sometimes at the end of the year, and they'll say, oh yeah, by the way, we forgot we owe you $150,000. Then we've been sitting on 3 or 4 months of equipment rentals. We'll go back and charge those.
Well, that's what I was asking. Are those delayed funds or?
It doesn't have sunset, so we can charge later if we have.
Okay.
So that next line there that you're looking at is for just the surplus auction sale. We usually have a sale once a year. Highway department sells a couple
You up your prices, Jeff.
Yeah. Quit running the junks along.
Well, they just keep running that stuff, so they don't sell it.
As long as there's a junkyard somewhere, I got parts still.
The next one is similar to the equipment rentals. It's for the health insurance, same thing what Kevin was explaining. When we're using the other funds, we're billing for employees out of there. Their benefits also can be paid out of those funds. It gets to highway general. So then that brings you to your total revenue for this year or for next year. And then down here just starts through their expenses. You have the secretary here. This is would be her salary with a 2.5% raise. You have the employees. Now we are still under negotiation with County Highway, so we don't know this exact number yet. So we're just estimating what it will be.
And here again, keep in mind that we are paying fringe benefits, employees, and IRMF out of about 6 different funds. So just looking at an individual one of these and say it's down, you could go to another one and it's up. And so what I did, we worked with Angie and went back through, I took my monthly reports, the places that I was at, 108, 125% of my last year's budget, and I adjusted those numbers up and down to try to make this budget a more workable thing. And, you know, the highway department it's very much a moving target on the budget. And Angie's worked diligently getting me to start marching with the rest of you guys on a budget, in that my expenses stuff are so flexible. I don't know where we're gonna have a culvert washout. I don't know that we're gonna have that year maybe a lot of snow, or maybe in the spring we have spring flooding along the Mississippi. Any one of those things could affect these budget lines differently through, you know, within the budget lines themselves and from fund to fund. So it's, as Danny refers to it, it's not a checkers game, it's a chess game. And so some of these line items you're going to see going up and down on what would appear to be a random thing. What I'm doing now is I'm basing those on the last year's expenditures to try to hone this thing in and make something that, instead of I'm at 150% on a line, maybe next year I'll be at 120% or 108%. And we're trying to get that moving target.
So actually, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Kevin, I think the dropping for your employees in this fund is actually better, because then
Yes.
that means the employees have increased in the other funds because those other funds are getting more money. So the other funds, that their income went up, they can charge more of the employees there. We don't have to pay for as much of the employees out of our general fund.
Right.
Okay, so, and this is the longevity bonus. This is the pay for cleaning of the highway department.
The longevity bonus, throughout, there's nobody going up in that to work.
It's
One
Betsy,
employee, just
Oh,
one employee.
never mind, okay.
yes. And then this health insurance is for the retiree insurance program. The individuals that they have on the program and what it costs for the year. Fringe benefits. We know what fringe benefits are there. Office supplies, we put them right at the same. They spent a couple grand of office supplies out of this fund. The equipment has dropped down. We made the last payment on, do you remember what piece of machinery that was?
No, we're getting ready to make the last one.
We're getting ready to make the last one on the John Deere, but you made the last one on a different piece of machinery.
Oh, the other tractor,
Yes, on the other
Yes.
tractor. So this is the last payment for the John Deere tractor.
plus a grader.
Yes, plus the
Plus-
grader, plus some
Yet
extra
to be
money.
discussed, yeah.
Yes. Miscellaneous, this is where, Kevin charges drug tests.
Is that all it's for?
The miscellaneous line, yes.
Should you want to tag it that way instead of running it miscellaneous? Just actually put a line item there for that, or?
That would require you to create a whole new
Yeah,
account within our
That's fine.
accounting system.
Forget
So
it.
I put a note out here. Oh, you can't see the note. It's
I
on the
can't see
door.
though.
It's on the door. It
It's on
says
the
drug
door.
test. So,
Okay,
fuel, we have fuel increase this year.
hey, while we're hitting on that, on the fuel increase, every department was over in their fuel, and was that a tracking system, or was that gas prices?
You didn't forward that to the board, that email I sent out to.
The gas
Grant?
prices were up.
Yep.
Yes.
Everybody was up.
Okay,
And, you know, everybody kept coming to me and saying, because this tracking of the logging system is down, I'm being improperly billed. And I said, well, that's hard to believe, because all of us are paying more. And then I went back and ran for a year or 18 months or something, fuel prices. Took fuel price averages and compared to what we were paying now, and it was like a 40% increase, which was exactly what everybody was paying. So
Okay.
it's all about fuel
and the
prices.
reason I'm asking that is because, yeah, I did get that, and we read that, but then as we were going through, some of the departments said, no, that just doesn't add up.
Well, some
But
of
it
this,
is.
And anybody that thinks the fuel system is being run improperly, I would offer it to them, great. I mean, I'll bring it to them.
So where are we at on the fuel system getting, what we need to get
The
done?
last correspondence I had with our computer people was a month ago. And they still got to hook the thing up down there.
And that's what we talked about. I mean, we had that meeting up here with, whoever it was. that
Fuel
come-
cloud.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, yeah, it's a great thing.
They have
hardware's
the
in-
wireless hooked up down there now.
Yeah, the hardware's there, all he had to do was marry it into the wires and then set up, we gotta set the system up, but as far as I know, it's not
Okay.
functional yet.
Same thing, we try to increase the road oil, increase the rock, this year so that we can do more work on the roads. We have the tires, the same as last year, maintenance bridge, same as last year, roads the same. The maintenance vehicle, talking to Kevin, he wanted this combined with another account. I gotta scoot over so I can see what it was,
Maintenance
5260,
equipment.
68. So this line and this line just became this one line. So that's, and then we also combined two other lines, supplies and maintenance supplies. Dues, you guys don't pay any dues. I took the money out of the budget. We keep
Actually,
budgeting
we
this.
pay dues to the Illinois Association of County Engineers.
I wonder if you're paying them out of somewhere
Yeah, I
else for the
wonder-
last 2 years.
Yeah, we might have, she might have paid out something else, but
Okay. I'll look at that. Utilities. We budgeted 9 last year. I haven't aired budget 8,500, but we only spent 6,500, so I think we should be good there. Telecommunications, right around $5,000. Engineering, same 1,000, and then liability insurance dropped a little bit.
Sure.
So that's what will balance this fund. Now, talking to you guys, I think at the beginning you guys were talking about your goals, and everybody's goals was economic development, and I think Danny, you just hit on it a little bit ago, and economic development and our infrastructure. So I've talked to Kevin to try to figure out, if you guys approve investing more money into the highway department, where should we put it? This is the fund we would put it in. So I've gotten some items highlighted down here, the employee line, fuel, road oil, and rock, maintenance equipment, where we will increase these if we levy more into this fund. I tried to talk to Kevin and say, what do we need to get our roads back in better shape? That's what the citizens of our county want. They want our roads, and what'd you say, $250,000?
well, first I asked for 1.5 million one
Yeah.
time.
But so then we sat
One-time
down,
payment.
Yeah, one time.
we
But,
sat down and ran some or he looked at numbers
Yeah,
and just said,
asked realistically.
yes.
And I said, well, anything is a step in the right direction. 100,000 is about what we were short this year of getting across our road system with an oil and chip maintenance coat. And so that's why I signed the request for 100,000.
Well, see, and the 62,000 for last year, that was strictly in the bridge fund, correct?
Yes.
That is strictly in the bridge fund, and we have begun that project. And so, 2 of the pipes are installed. I told you, when you give me 62,000, I'd give you 6 bridges going. And so we are currently looking at, with some of the monies I've put with it, we're probably gonna take 13 bridges out. And so that's where your expenditure from last year. And so if you continue to do that again, I can't tell you I'm gonna get 13 again next year, but I promise you I'll get 8.
How many was on the list for when the state come down, didn't they do some sort of, I thought we had a list of the bridges that were,
Graded which ones were
yeah,
worse.
that's a couple of years ago when they came in and I think.
Which one needed replaced first, which one?
Yeah.
I do all that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in fact, this year, January, February timeframe will be my, every 2 years, I have a big year on inspections, and I'll have over 100 inspections that I'll have to do in 2 months. And, when I came 10 years ago, we had 133 bridges over 20 feet in length. 10 years ago, 33 of those bridges were load posted. We are now down to 13 of those bridges posted. So we're making some progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I came, there were 16 bridges of those 133 that were on what they call a special feature inspection list. Special feature inspection means it has some kind of critical element, whether it be a beam, a pile, a bucket cap, something that could create an imminent collapse of that bridge. Had 16 of those when I came, we got that list down to 1. And so, there again, we're making some progress. When we started in on the bridges under 20 feet in length, this would have been about the time that Scott Swink came in as foreman. We had around 20 or 65 of these bridges under 20 feet in length left. And we've got that list down now to 40. And we're gonna get 13 of those this year, and 8, 10 more next year. We're gonna be getting that list down to a reasonable amount. Those things just eat timber. We have to put a new timber deck on them every 5 years. The beams are always broken, they're time and material eaters.
A lot of those, I know you replaced some of the bridges with those big culverts, and that's gotta be maintenance better.
Yeah, if we don't get a 50-year storm event, then I'll look like a genius. We get one 50-year storm event, I'm gonna look like an idiot, because they're designed on a 25-year storm event.
Right. And just for a comment, a line 51, 91 and 92, 51, 91, 92, that's where,
What you looked at? Oh, 91 and 90. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
That's where the misunderstanding of cutting the highway department, because it's paid out of somewhere else,
Yes, because what people were looking at is, if you look up here, in 2017, we levied 137 for the highway. In 2018, we only levied 55. So it looks like we reduced it.
exactly.
But if you notice, we took away them paying IMRF and Social Security, because we levied those in their own fund starting in 18, so that we had a true, accurate number for what we're paying for IMRF and Social Security. So if you take these two amounts that we deducted from their budget, you add it to the amount we levied, it's actually 139, a couple $1,000s more than what it was the year before.
And
This is not the fund that has the 62,000 in it. That's the county.
No,
fund.
but that's what I'm saying. That's
Yes.
the misunderstanding, that people read this budget and say, oh my gosh, they cut Kevin, $80,000. No, it wasn't.
It's simply because they can't read.
So I guess before we move on from this fund, my question for you guys is, when I'm doing the levies and wrapping up the last few funds in here, is it the wishes of the board to try to get the extra approximately $100,000 into the county highway department to improve the roads?
I think I've spoken.
I've heard yours, but I just didn't know how everyone else felt.
Well, we can swing it. I certainly
Look at it, but,
in agreement on
So
it.
try to work it in there, and then we'll go from there.
Obviously, I work for you guys, and this is your system. So you give me whatever resources you want to see on your system. The question that I would have of each one of you is, what is making your phone ring the most? What are you hearing the most when you go sit at the coffee shop? There's a hole in front of my house, this road's falling apart, we can't mow this. Make your life easier.
Well, you've already talked about two of the main things that I get calls on, and you're gonna finish the oil and chip in the tube. You almost got finished this year, so you're gonna take care of a couple things.
Okay, so that's the first one for the highway department.
Yeah, that's one, there's 8 more to go.
So-
County Bridge, this is where your 62,000 went.
Yes,
And you can see that increase from 17 to 18.
there's the 17, there's the 18, here's where the 62,000 more was added. So for this year budget, pretty close, income coming in about the same as it did last year. The expenses, we increased the employee expense. This is where Kevin was talking about, he looked at
Okay.
what things came in at, and then we moved it around. So you noticed in County Highway General, employees went down, but you'll notice here, employees went up by 30,000. So if we're planning on doing more bridge work, we're gonna have more of our employees' time spent on county bridge.
Yeah, I'll say a lot last year. We spent a lot of time in the shop last year building trucks. We built several trucks to try to make our truck situation more tolerable. This year, we're gonna spend more time replacing these old bridges. So I moved dollars from that personnel line out of the shop into bridges based upon what our planned work is going to be.
Now, how solid is this? I mean, if something comes up to where you need it somewhere else, is this a line item where you can?
Maybe go back to my original comment.
Yeah.
Yes, he can move it around, and he does.
Yeah, a budget is a spending authority. Actual dollars in the bank drive my operation.
Well, the reason I ask you that, because I know with you, you are getting money that has to be spent in a certain place.
The
This is
tail-
not one of
yeah,
them.
This is
No.
the tail wagging the dog.
Okay,
Okay, and, in the actual, my accounts actually drive what I plan. Money in the bank is what drives my world. Budget is a spending authority. I strive to make it as good as I can.
okay.
And Danny, to answer your question, like he'll move stuff around between this fund. Now, he doesn't move stuff between one fund to the next unless it's the rentals and the fringe that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
unless I have some
But he'll
mechanism
stay
to-
within the budget, within this fund.
Well, no, and that was exactly my question. That, like I say, you've got people that's gonna be out on bridges under this bridge fund, but if something comes up that you need these people over here, is this a transferable, since it's employed?
It's right here, rental.
Okay.
Rentals, yes.
No, I'm talking about for the employees though, you
Not
can't.
without board action.
Okay,
But
that,
the
that
other
was
thing,
my, that was my question.
if I've got money in county bridge, but in my budget, and I actually have money in my county highway general, we have a big flood or something, I'm spending money out of county highway general to take care of that flood or that emergency event.
Got it.
At that point, budget is a grocery list. Yeah, I mean, that's,
Okay, and I get that, and like I said, I'm not trying to hammer this, but I just wanna make sure that you get the money, that's a comment that I was gonna make, that the money, if we give you the money, then we need to put that where you can put it to use.
Mhm.
Not what we think, you have to do that.
and that's why.
That's
when
why
she
you said,
answered
yeah.
me,
Okay.
she said, if, where, how much do you want and where do you want it? And so that's why I said county highway general, because to me right now, the thing that's making you guys phone ring the most is the oil and chip.
Absolutely.
It's falling apart, and so we put that county highway general in the form of road oil, rock, and equipment, and employee expenses, then.
And I get that, and I appreciate that, that's what I need to know.
Then basically you have your health insurance, your fringe benefits, which are driven off of your employees. We put money in this fund this year, or for next year for rock, maintenance on the bridges, and then rentals. That's what's driving back to what I showed you, the formula in the county highway fund. So get you down to your total, then it balances for the year. Do you have any questions about this one? Okay. So the next one is federal aid matching. Kevin, you want to explain what this fund is?
All right, federal aid matching is a tax that you levy, and it is there to match state and federal dollars. Anything that I have an agreement with a state or federal agency or a grant, these are construction dollars. Federal aid matching, very seldom can I pay like the employees lines. That's kind of just a placeholder in there. The only way I can pay employees out of here is if I've got a grant or something and we are putting up a 80-20 split with a federal agency or something. So most of the time, what this is going to be is I'm either going to be paying bridge construction or engineering consultants to design those projects. And that's why you see the more dollars are down in the bottom in Illinois or in engineering and bridge construction. Whenever I build a bridge, as far as the township bridge program, it's built a 80-16-4 split, 80% federal, 16% township bridge program, which is a state program, and then we do a 4% local match. That comes out of this fund. So the thing about federal aid matching, it drives at the state level something called state match. State match is what I build resurfacing projects with. So if you put $80,000 into this fund, I get that year $80,000 into a state match fund that is held and accounted for at a state level. Those state match dollars are typically matched at a 4-to-1 rate with federal dollars. So Skyline Drive is an example. Both of those construction projects were built 80-20 split between the federal dollars and that state match fund, which was generated as a match to this federally matching. Clear as mud? So putting money in this fund gets you nothing on the operation of the highway department.
Right.
But it does get you a 5-to-1 match at state and federal dollars on construction dollars.
Skyline, we come out okay on it. Because of that.
We made money on Skyline Drive.
Yeah.
The only thing Union County had in that job was the gas in my vehicle. My time was even reimbursed by the state.
Yep.
Even the fringes.
So we continue to levy for this.
And that's what I'm saying, do you have enough in there to,
Well,
I mean, and I know you're looking into
what are your
your priorities.
priorities? I mean, your priorities are keeping the highway department operating, keeping your road system together, and at some point improving your system. And that's like Skyline Drive. It was a great improvement to the system, which lessened our maintenance cost on that section of road, just like at your house. A new vehicle is less expensive to maintain than an old vehicle, but can you afford a new vehicle?
Right.
So this is no different.
Okay.
Answer your question, I could always use more money in every one of these funds, but you've got the PTL cap. Next question is, what are your priorities? Oil and chip, operation and employees, or construction projects? To me, a construction project is about third place behind maintenance and keeping the place operating.
So basically, there's enough money in there to.
I'm happy with the amount of money that's in there right now.
You could probably make some money off of it.
About every 4 or 5 years, we generate enough state match money that we can have a resurfacing project.
Right.
St. John's was an example, the two up on Skyline. I took us out to the edge of the world on that. I spent money we didn't have. And so, we're gonna be 4 or 5 years generating enough money where we have another bituminous project.
Trying to stop coughing. So we continue to levy for this fund, and then I talked to Kevin about it, and in years in the past, we haven't given appropriations for the full balance, but really, if a project comes along and he needs to spend this money, then he needs to have the appropriations for it. So we went ahead and appropriated the full balance in this fund,
Yeah.
just in case a project comes along. So if a project doesn't come along, then these numbers are not going to be spent.
Right.
But
No, that,
we
and
want
that
them
was,
there.
And
I think what Max and I were getting at, that's what we need to have in there.
On our bridge projects also, the state pays the entire amount to the contractor. And then they send us a bill of our proportionate share. And it may lay on somebody's desk for 2 years up there, and then in like 3 months, I'll get a bridge or a bill for all of my last 2 years' bridge projects. So I may spend nothing 1 year and spend $90,000 in 2 months the next year. So, I'm at their mercy on that.
Is everybody good on this one? All right, this is Fund 123, County MFT. This is the motor fuel tax account. So we don't levy for this fund. It's actually the expenditure, or the expenses are from motor fuel tax money. So just talking to Kevin, the reason that it's, well, it's higher than the budget for last year, but lower than how much we got for this year is because we had a payment carryover. So this 2018 amounts that we got actually had half of a year from the prior year received. So this about 350,000 is what we're expecting to receive. This is what you guys just did the resolution for today, which is 50% of Kevin's salary. So it's just a formula based off of, this is the salary you approved. This is just interest out of the bank account. So then when you go down to the expenses, you have Kevin's salary, again, employees, just part of the total employees expense, the health insurance and fringe, travel, we left it the same, road oil, we left it the same, rock the same, salt. My favorite question to Kevin is how much is he going to spend in salt? And he never knows.
Yeah.
As you can see, this year we've spent nothing. Maintenance roads, this is a new line that we put in this year because it's for the culverts and road signs and stuff like that, which we've spent out of this fund before. We just really haven't had a line item for it. So Kevin asked if we could put this in there this year so they actually have somewhere to code those expenses to. Again, the rentals, same thing. This money is going back to Highway General. And this is the transfer. Have we done this resolution yet, Kevin?
No, and we don't always do it. We can transfer up to, I don't remember if it's a third or half of our yearly motor fuel tax county allotments into our county unit system, if the county system is in good enough shape. In the last couple of years, we haven't done that because we've had so many needs in both of them, and revenues have been down, and we haven't made a transfer for about 3 years. But we'll go ahead and put this transfer placeholder in there, just in case we can't afford to do it, and we need the money in county unit.
So that's all the expenses. As you can see at the bottom, I still have $92,000 here to allocate out between them, but most of it is actually going to come in this year's. We were waiting on a motor fuel tax payment that we just received. Was that earlier this week or last week?
Mm-hmm.
So Betsy had some invoices for road oil, I think, maybe rock, that she was sitting on until the payment came in. So now it's in. So I just had to get the totals from Betsy. What do we think it was? About, was there 60,000?
No, I think that with the motor fuel tax payment was like 108.
No, the invoices
Oh,
that
the
she
invoices?
the oil.
Probably
It was a big number.
$75,000.
Right. So it's going to basically take away the majority
That's
of
what I
this,
was
which
gonna
is what
add.
we
Is the
thought.
bills equal the payment?
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
been waiting on this $100,000
And you got about,
distribution from the
and you got
state.
about $100,000 worth of bill?
Yeah.
All right.
So once we put those amounts in here, this number down here will drop closer to zero, and we'll have a few more thousand to add up here. But I don't want to add them yet until I know the.
That's why I was telling you all summer long, I'm spending money I don't have right now. But they shut the oil distribution plants down the first week of November. So I can't wait till I get my tax distributions, and then the state decides to send us our money. I gotta be on the debtor list for a few months. If they wanna sell oil, they're gonna have to wait till November to get their money.
Well, you're in a big pool there with everybody else.
Yeah, us and everybody else. Yeah, everybody's doing business the same way.
Yeah.
It's either that, or if I had a $250,000 reserve, then I could run out of that, which is the way I used to do business, and then I would be broke instead of $250,000 in the arrears.
Any questions about county MFT?
No, that was real nice when you slipped that in, but you want $250,000 in reserve.
Always. As long as you got it, I'm happy. I'll let you know if I don't have it. You'll be the first one to know.
I like that.
The next fund up here is Fund 125. It's county highway insurance. This is literally just a clearing account. It's where all the money from all the other funds are funneling into here, and then this fund is paying the actual health insurance. So it's always going to have a zero balance. Unit Road District. Just making sure that wasn't Unit Road MFT. Okay, so this is just Fund 126, Unit Road District. Same amount of levy as last year. You got your prior year taxes that have come in. Your replacement tax, I dropped it down to 35,000 the last couple of years. It's been closer to that than the 40 that we had in there. And then there's interest off the bank account. So that's the revenue for this fund. And then again, sat down with Kevin, he broke out about, where he thought the money should be. So we have 40,000 in here for the employees. There's their health insurance and the fringe. You have 70 grand in here for road oil, 115 for rock. And then the same for maintenance roads, same as last year, supplies the same. And then rentals is a little bit less. So that takes the fund down to the zero balance. Anything you need to explain on this one?
No, this one wasn't very exciting. Most of the changes you saw was just the balancing that we did to try to make up for the over expenditures.
All right. The next one's Fund 127, which is the Unit Road District Bridge. Again, hold on. Unit Road District and Unit Road District Bridge, these are the two that are in their own category for the tax levies.
Yeah.
So they're also PTEL limited, but they're PTEL limited within their sub. So that's why because it gets an increase, a CPI increase. So it's like 2.1%, I think, is what this past year's was. So that's a higher levy there. And then you have the prior year taxes and the interest from the bank account. And then same kind of thing. You have your employee line, the health insurance, and the fringe benefits for them. We took office supplies out of here because Kevin let me know you can't pay for office supplies out of Unit Road District Bridge. Increased rock, again, trying to do more, work on the roads. You have maintenance bridges, about the same, supplies the same, and then your rentals.
Given that one bridge that you talked about earlier, maintenance and structural issues,
Mhm.
what category does that fall into?
Special feature inspection. It's
Where would the money come from?
where would it come from? It's under 20 feet in length, and so it would be totally a local project when it happens. There's no state or federal money at this time for it. It's a target opportunity if somebody ever comes around during election year and is looking for a grant or something. There's FLAP, there's TARP, there's all kinds of different programs, but it really has to be something that draws attention. It's kind of doesn't fall in a very good category.
Is it a unit road though, or a
It is a
county?
unit road.
Okay.
And it's got 10 piles under it. It's currently load posted. 3 of the piling are hollow. None of them are adjacent piling. So there's a lot of redundancy in the bridge as far as, is it in danger of imminent collapse? I don't think so. In fact, when we built some bridges in the area over there, we took 40-ton cranes over them, and it took a full-scale load test. So we're keeping an eye on it. It has a 6-month inspection on it, so every 6 months.
Is that the way you test them for load?
Not usually. Let's see, I gotta get a crane somewhere. Put the engineer under it and drive over it.
Any other questions on this one? We have 2 more.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is Unit Road District MFT. Again, another fund driven by motor fuel tax money. Same thing happened. Actually, this one is the opposite. We did not get the motor fuel tax payment for this year, but we are expecting it in December. So that's why this is even higher, because we're thinking our 18 payment will be received in 19.
And hoping that 19 comes in 19, but.
Right, because so this could be too high if 19's is also delayed, just like
Then we could be back
18's.
to the 18 number.
Yes.
Or, who knows, stay.
This is that transfer that you saw in the other MFT, that if we do it, we can transfer the $50,000 over here. Interest from the bank account. And then again, just going through the lines, they're pretty close to last year. You have your employees, health insurance, fringe benefits, road oil, rock, maintenance on the roads, bridge construction, and then the rentals is down. Usually on these funds, when we're adjusting them, Kevin tries to keep the amount of money up here about the same between, oil, rock, maintenance, roads and stuff. We may move them around if we need to adjust it, because more or less revenue, we do a lot of the adjusting out of the rentals. Do you have any questions about this one? I think that's the last one. It is. All right, so the last one is the Township Bridge Program. Fund 129, it is driven by state and federal grants.
This is
You have
about
its
like the insurance
explanation.
fund, this is about a clearinghouse.
I was gonna say, this is clearing,
It's money in, money out. The money goes towards engineering and building bridges. And those are the concrete bridges that you see that the contractors build. This is not something that we do. Really operationally, as a county, has nothing to do with TBT.
And then down here under the expenses, Kevin, usually, when the money comes in, more money is spent on bridge construction than engineering, because Kevin does a lot of the work himself. So that's our best guess at the breakdown between the two. But obviously, you could spend more on construction and less on engineering, or vice versa. But as long as the total is the same, we're okay.
so since this is a clearing, are we fronting this money sometimes and then waiting, or we don't spend it till we get
We
it?
don't spend it till we get it.
Okay,
And we get money from the state when I send the agreements in. They'll go ahead and send us a portion of the money. And then as the monies are spent and they see the actual dollar amounts, they will usually send us, because they'll send us 80% of the money. Then they'll send us the balance at the end when everything is trued up, which I
Okay.
hate that word.
well, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying, I didn't know if we had to front this and then wait on
No,
that.
no, this is, they pretty much front it and then we bill back to them from it.
Okay, good.
That's it for the funds for the highway department. And then the only other thing that we talked to everybody about is their capital. Last year you guys approved for, don't let me say the wrong words, an excavator
An excavator is gonna be delivered today at 9 o'clock, so.
And, and a truck.
And a truck, and it's supposed to be here next week. And, you guys committed to $25,000 over 4 years. We entered into basically municipal leases on both of them for 4 years. They added up to about 34,000 was the two of them together, and the highway department is responsible for anything above the 25,000. We're taking care of that. And, we appreciate that very much. It's equipment that was greatly needed. And this year, we would like to request a tractor. Both of our tractors are getting a lot of hours on them. I try to replace them about every 2 years to keep a decent tractor out there. This particular piece of equipment is probably somewhere in the $75,000 range. And if we did about the same thing, set it up on a 4-year lease, it would probably be around $18,000 towards your capital line. In addition to the $25,000.
Where are you looking at getting a tractor? I mean, is that something that we get through the bid process?
Most of them come off statewide purchase.
Yeah, that's what I meant on that, okay.
We actually buy those tractors cheaper than the dealerships can buy. We buy them directly from Deere.
This is leased on like everything else.
They
Lease
call it a
purchase.
municipal lease, but it's our tractor. We're responsible for the maintenance, damage, or anything else. The only reason they call it a lease is at the end of the program, there is an out for the county that if you can't afford to keep the tractor at any time, if you don't, or during the program actually, or if there's not some appropriations made, that they'll take the tractor back. But it's very much to their advantage. They assign damages, they do all kinds of other things. So you may make payments on a tractor for 2 years, give it back to them, then they hand you a bill.
Yeah,
And so they call it a municipal lease just because there's an appropriations clause that lets you out of the contract, but really it's a purchase.
and that's the only thing you have under your capital, that you're asking for?
That you continue the commitments you've made, add this tractor.
It's about 18,000.
Now, the other thing, just so it's not a big surprise, when I come in here and ask you to declare my equipment surplus, or my vehicle surplus property, I would like to, at some point after the winter, maybe into the spring, look for a used pickup truck to replace that thing. It's got 275,000 miles on it now. The transmission's been slipping for some time. I can give you the laundry list of the things that are wrong with it. And, but I'd like to look at something that, and we said there's other things in this line. We'll put $10,000 in that equipment line so that maybe trading my vehicle in $10,000 would get me maybe into something that's got 100,000 miles on it instead of 275,000 miles on it. So I don't need a brand new truck. I mean, I'm gonna get mud in them. And, but having something that's a little more dependable than one, that one's been fine, it's been good, but it's getting a lot of age on it. And you've seen what I do with them down there. It doesn't bother me to go to the junkyard and get a motor, transmission, anything else out of them. But this one down here is getting enough body issues and things like that that it's getting beyond repair.
Is that the one you drive?
That's one I'm driving.
Okay. Would you trade that in, or would you keep that?
Well, probably trade that one in. It's not a real good fit for what we do. We can't put a fuel tank in the back of it. We can put a toolbox in it, but
Would it work for animal control? Is it better than what they have?
it's probably better than what they have. Yeah.
Just a
Absolutely, that's what I was
So there's an
saying.
out for you.
Absolutely.
Because I know they're in need of a truck
Yeah.
too, so it may be something that we can
Yeah.
shift over and get something different.
Yeah, it's an expedition.
The assessor's good. We worked it out with Scott, one of the vehicles, when Scott got his new vehicles, one of his older vehicles went to Kenny. He is extremely happy, talks about it all the time. His
Okay,
vehicle's
so
great.
the only other one that we're looking at is the animal control.
Animal control needs a truck.
Absolutely. I think that's the way we should go.
How much money do you think? 10 is what you think for that?
I hadn't even shopping, honestly.
The trucks later.
Yeah, and then if we don't trade that in, then that's probably put the 20 in, because it's probably gonna be in the 17, 18 range. So-
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get what you want for 10.
Yeah, well, I was looking, because my stepson just went through this whole thing, and we found a truck that had 100,000 on it for $16,000-$17,000 from an individual. And, so that's why I was looking at 10 plus mine might get me in the neighborhood.
Yeah, let's put that in there and look at giving the animal control that.
That's what we do. That's all I have.
See, that wasn't that bad, Kevin.
As long as you guys understand it, I'm good. I can give you this.
So we're gonna look at it.
Is there any other questions while Kevin's here?
I'm good.
Oh, some of you guys have been down and looked at our operation. I'd encourage you, any of you that's got some time, please come down and look at things and see what these guys are capable of and what they build. And I mean, these
Also
guys,
surplus of salt and cinders this
salt, we
year.
don't have any salt. We've got about 100 tons down there,
Okay.
and we're reserving it for any ice events that we may have. The state of Illinois, and their infinite wisdom and their ability, it was an election year. They tied up every bit of salt in the Midwest with a contract, and we can't even buy salt. Closest salt I found was in south edge of Chicago at $180 a ton. Yeah, thank you, state of Illinois, for taking care of the locals.
So what's your plan there?
Take you through with what I've got.
I mean, okay. I mean, actually, we had a pretty good year this year. Wasn't bad.
But it ain't over.
It's just starting.
It's just started. We usually get our ice in January and February, and
Yeah,
that's,
I talked about it for last year. I know
we're holding salt reserves for ice.
You say you have cinders?
We've got a lot of cinders.
Yeah.
So my plan is to plow it and turn it black.
I'd recommend that if you can go down, let it pipe it down. You know, they can build a truck from a frame. It may have 3 or 4 different trucks that go into that one truck, but they can actually build a truck.
My washing machine went out at the house, and I brought it in and thought, well, I'll just go to scrap pile of work, because we sell it, and get something out of it. And I brought it in one morning, tossed it out. I come back the next day, the washing machine's laying out in the middle of the parking lot, all cut to pieces. I said, what are you doing? And they were building a fan shroud out of that washing machine for a piece of equipment. Well, that's what they're capable of. I mean, they do with what they have to accomplish what they need to do.
They're great chemicals, huh?
Yep.
Just like Johnny Cash. That's all.
Yeah, one piece at a time.
Do you have any recommendations for meeting again on the budget to finish some things up?
I would say we should look at meeting probably end of next week. I don't know what you guys' availability is, but
Thursday,
Why
Friday.
do we have to wait that long? You got Thursday off.
yeah, I'm not working this Thursday or Friday. Most of the time, let me just show you. If you look down here at the bottom, the colored tabs actually do mean something. The green ones are all the ones that are done. The yellow ones are the ones that I still need to give some attention to. The red ones are the red ones are the circuit clerk's bank accounts that she holds herself outside of the treasurer's office. So until we get bank statements, and last year we didn't get any, we can't do a budget for them, so they stayed in red. So we may not be able to budget anything for those again this year. All of these down here that we just did today that are orange like this, they're basically done as we reviewed them today. I just want to get with Betsy, make sure she doesn't have any invoices over there that she's sitting on, so that we may have to move a little bit of money around. But the totals are the exact same. So the biggest thing left for the budget to do is the ambulance fund and the general fund. The beginning balances aren't matching up, so I'm trying to go back and find out where we're off, so that I can make sure that we have the correct beginning balance number. Because I don't want to say we have, I'm making it up, I don't want to say we have $150,000 to start off the ambulance fund and we really only have 75, because then you're going to appropriate money that they don't have. So the only thing left on any of the budget is the beginning balances. So, is there?
I can tell you too, within, kind of toot Angie's horns a little bit, before she came along, my budget process, this whole meeting took less than 10 minutes. Because no one understood it, it didn't mean anything. The numbers, I'd had kind of tweak them around, shove money around here and there. There was no effort at all to stay within that because it was such a moving target. And Angie has now given us good information for several years in a row. We can now average those numbers out and look and say, okay, there is something we can hit here. Call it a logarithm, call it whatever you want, but we're starting to hit those targets, and this budget is a much more painful process now, and that we have to sit in here, but it actually means something now. And so it's a good thing.
Well, thank you. I do have a couple things, if you don't mind, and they're not about the highway department, just a couple questions, like, that would clear up some of these that are blue that we could, or just this one, really. The U of I extension, is everybody good with the 40,000 that we always give them? I had to increase the levy a little bit, because if you remember last year, we decreased it because there was money sitting in the account, but we used it. So now I had to increase it. It's just a few thousand, well, about $3,000 or $4,000 more in the levy, so that we could give them this 40,000.
Yeah.
But I thought that's what you guys had talked to Jody about. So.
Actually, I think that we're more or less committed to him to do that.
Yes.
Okay, so then like that one is gonna be done.
Change the color.
Oh well, it's green now. So, and then some of these, like these other ones that are blue, they're the ones where you're gonna have to come back because there's requests. So court automation has requests. The sheriff's anti-crime, I can't really complete this one until we know what capital you're gonna approve, because he's gonna pay for some capital out of this account. And I think this is the DUI. That's the same thing. He's gonna pay for some capital out of it. So depending on what you guys approve, if you approve the radios for his system, then there's certain expenses he's gonna have come out of this. If you don't approve the radios, there's other expenses he'll have come out of these. So that's why those are that color. So really the only ones that are left to do are the general fund and ambulance, and trying to figure out their beginning balances.
Good.
So we're coming right along. Do you want to set a date for next week? Or do you want to wait till Monday or Tuesday and see how it goes, or however you have to give 48 hours notice, then you guys know that, but.
Why don't you look to see how you come, if you're not gonna work on Thursday or Friday,
I'm going out of town.
so, but I mean, let's see how you.
Do what?
They make laptops.
I know, I've taken it home every evening.
Yeah, you can say.
So
Tuesday, Thursday.
we need to make a decision on Monday about if we have one on Wednesday.
Is the contract meeting we've got Thursday?
Yes, we have a meeting on Thursday at 9 o'clock, with the highway department negotiations. I just found this out, so.
I've got one on Tuesday, but that's not one of the days we meet anyways.
Will you be ready Wednesday?
I could try.
No reason to meet if she can't.
Right.
It really doesn't have things all wrapped up. I mean, Thursday or Friday.
Well, the bad thing about that is if I work on Monday, you gotta know by Monday. So
Right.
it depends on how many other things come up Monday or Tuesday. that,
Yeah, it's like shoot for the end of the week. Yeah, let's
that's
shoot
what I
for
was
Friday.
thinking, either
Yeah.
Thursday afternoon or Friday. But is that deer season?
Friday afternoon would be better. For me.
Okay.
Good. What about Friday morning?
So we're gonna try for like a Friday afternoon. I'll check back with you guys beginning of next week to make sure that everybody's still good.
Okay.
I don't know if you'll be there or not, Danny.
Just a quick reminder for everybody that intended budget needs to be on display for 15 days. We can pay bills.
Right.
Not good. Not good.
So I guess the thing you guys can be thinking about right now are the different, and I'll send you an email with the different capital requests, what everybody's requesting. And then, right now, I mean, what you'll need eventually is the total, so you know how much, but you could go ahead and start looking at them and saying, okay, here's my priority list, and so you can run down.
And again, like I said on this other, we need to at least start paying some on the principal of this IMRF thing.
Mhm. It'll be on there too.
Right now, we're falling short on that, that's eating us alive. To at least pay the principal, so.
Well, we don't
don't
look
have-
at figuring out a way to take it out of the general fund account and pay ourselves 7.5% interest. I mean, in theory,
that.
you know.
Okay. If there's nothing else.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
Commissioner Hartline,
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Kohler,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Poole.
Yes.